Not much. How are you doing? We're not supposed to be talking today, but the fates and the stars have aligned, which is good. My trip got pushed back a week, so we're gonna jump back into things for a week and then take a week off. So it worked out.
We're able to fit it in, which is kind of fun and
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. And the chapter is very interesting too because it is. I think it's very very relevant to today. Today, it's very political, which some people may not like, some people may like, but it is very relevant. I would say wholeheartedly it is. So we can start by reading the excerpt from the inside cover. I'd be happy to do it. Leaders are the ones who run headfirst into the unknown. They rush toward the danger. They put their own interests aside to protect us or to pull us into the future. Leaders would sooner sacrifice what is theirs to save what is ours. And they would never sacrifice what is ours to save what is theirs. This is what it means to be a leader. It means they choose to go first into danger, head first toward the unknown. And when we feel sure they will keep us safe, we will march behind them and work tirelessly to see their visions come to life and proudly call ourselves their followers. I love that. That's a great way to start a week. Reading that. I mean, it's like reading your devotions and your Bible for the day. It's good stuff.
Well, it is. It's kind of it's like it centers you. You come off the weekend, you try to clear your mind, right, and your family, and so then you come back in and it's like a recentering. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, it is, and it's a very good way to put it. I was reading it. As we've discussed our change and what's going on in our company. I've spent a lot of time over this weekend and late last week, just really kind of diving into this whole entire concept and just thinking to myself, what it does to recenter and refocus and think about this leadership thing. So then it's been weighing heavily on my mind.
Yeah, pretty big changes going on.
Yeah. Yes. So it's good though. Like I said, the one thing, and for those of you that don't know, I mean, it is public knowledge now. Chris, our leader, our boss is leaving for a different opportunity, and in his place, we'll move myself. But I think when I think about this book and I think about our team. As you and I were chatting beforehand, I think the team is what really makes the difference in leadership. And Chris had built that team. And I think that's why it makes things so much easier is because our team is so strong and our team does have a lot of these values and these principles in this book flowing through it. And maybe we know it, maybe we don't know it, but it does make things a heck of a lot easier when you do have these principles in your mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is a testament. I don't know any other way to put it. It's weird. Everything just kind of fits right, and it's like it's not meant anything for Chris is leaving, and it wasn't any big deal. Like it's like nothing really happened. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
put together in the structure that he built. This is what leaders are for. This is what the ownership of all companies should look at. So that when you do step back or want to start stepping back, there isn't a big right? Things like this work where the team just continues on one foot after the other without any hit.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, somebody in Chris's position, being the director of us, granted we are only a 4-man team or a 3-man, 1-woman team. It's not a big team, but it's it's a team that is in, essentially has some say in way of doing things for 20 plus companies throughout the world. So it is a big responsibility of this team, and it's a heavy coat to wear at times. In certain situations, it is stressful. But so Chris leaving is it could be looked at in two ways. I mean, you can have that, oh shit, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. The wheels have fallen off. That our steadfast leader is going to leave. Or I think the way that we look at things is we've already been given the tools that we need to be successful. We've already built the foundation that we need to be successful. So ultimately, all we have to do is just keep on building. We have, like I said, we have the tools, we have the foundation. There's really no need for us to dramatically change things, for us to worry. We already have everything that we need. There's no reason for any kind of a panic, and that's the way I've been feeling. And it took me a couple of days to really kind of soak that in and think about things. It's interesting. It's been very interesting because I've been on the other side. I've been on the other side where it's like, oh shit, the wheels have fallen off, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do because I just lost a key person. And I'm sure a lot of that have been on this, and sorry that we're digressing so far, but it is kind of a big announcement. But I've been on that other side, and it's very scary, very scary. It brings in that feeling that I don't want to go to work anymore because I've just lost my major cog. I don't have that person that I can rely on, that person that gets stuff done. And I'm sure a lot of you have been in that situation. But I think it really brings us back to the testament of building that foundation, getting the right people on the bus, creating clear directives, really good communication. All of those things encompass, I think, creating a good team and a good environment. And that's what we have. And that's why this is so easy to do. It's interesting because this is honestly, I have to be 100% honest with you, this is the first time that I've been in this situation where I haven't felt like really overwhelming feelings of grief and anxiety or something like this happening. It's very interesting. And I think that's a testament to the culture that we work in today. So, sorry, I got a soapbox now.
So if we're going to dive in, destructive abundance, the chapter 20, that leadership lesson number 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of a fun one here.
Yeah, it is. And the title gives no justice to what it's really about. Kind of does. I think I digress a little bit when I read the chapter. I think about friends matter, meaning your friends outside of work and the people that you can talk about, that you can talk to certain people about things that are outside of work and you feel comfortable with. There's times that you just get so frustrated with your work, and you just don't want to talk to anybody at work about it. You want to talk to your friend about it. And so when I read that chapter or that title, that's what I'm thinking about is, your friends do matter. Your outside resources do matter. What this is saying in this chapter, and again, it's very political, very, very political, because it talks about Dick Cheney and how Dick Cheney completely started the polarization of what we see today versus where you have the Republicans versus Democrats, and nobody can get along for anything, and it's, this, that, and every other thing. So what they talk about is more along the lines of, when I'm in my function in my work life, it's about work. When I'm outside of it, then we can be friends. But in that interim, work comes first. So that's, I think, what they're trying to get at is there does have to be that clear deviation. You can be friends and you can work together, but you got to understand that you can't have them both at the same time. It doesn't work like that. And that's why you get that first quote. Cooperation doesn't mean argument. It means working together to advance the greater good. Be friends outside of the office, but inside the office, you got to do what's best for the company.
And that's just it. You can't be clouding the judgment, right? That's sometimes you're trying to appease both, but neither one will get there if you're trying to do both, right? You can't. It's not a 2 for 1.
Yeah. And that's where they get into the political aspect of, like I said, Dick Cheney was one of the first ones who kind of used his leverage of his position to really kind of set that polarization and set those sides. And that's what you see today. And it is really sad because sometimes you feel like politicians aren't working for the greater good of humanity, and it's more for just personal gain or for their own sides gain, I should say. So, and it is, but you do see that too. I think in the workplace too, you see more of the factions coming together, your little ruse that you put together in corporations that, I'm not doing this unless Billy comes along with me, or, unless I get to work with Jim, I'm not doing this, that kind of stuff, which is wrong. Sorry about that.
We see that with the battle between production and sales, right? Like, it's one or the other. Nobody, there's a tough time between that, right? It's your fault. It's only a greater good for your so-called team. It's not necessarily a greater good for the company in general, even if that means you got to make tough decisions.
Yeah, no, that's a great example, I think, because you do see that. You see those factions. You see the sales versus production kind of thing. You can be friends after the fact, but during that's when you got to put your big boy pants on and get your work done on both sides. There can't be that faction, and there can't be that friendliness either. I mean, it's good. You got to ride that fine line of working together, but also working for the greater good of the company.
Sure. Well, and I want to, like, I think of it because we talk about it as the friendship thing, and a lot of times it's a team up, right? So it's a sales team with a sales leader. The sales leader's trying to do the best for his team. Their buddies, their friends, they've got to talk to each other more often, right? Sometimes you're in a position that you have to say, hey, production's right. Or whatever, right? Like,
right.
Sometimes it's again, it goes back to that kind of politics thing. It's the side. Sometimes you got to tell your own side that, look, for the greater good of this company, the other side's right.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. I mean, sometimes you do have to, it's not about your group, your friends. It's about the greater group, the greater benefit. And sometimes you got to swallow your pride and just say, I'm wrong. It's not us. It's them, that have to do it. And that's, there's a good statistic in here that the United States Congress has a 14% approval rating, and that was in 2013. I don't even want to know what it is today. Because it is what it is. There's too much slandering for the greater good of the party and not working together for the greater good of the United States. So, and that's wrong. I think it is. It's totally wrong. So there's not too much more to this chapter. It is very interesting. I think. Simon, I think went to a different path than I thought he was going to go to, but this does bring up a good example. And I think it boils down to, again, the factor of we're humans and we need to be human. We need to, like that quote says, cooperation doesn't mean argument. It means working together to advance the greater good. And I think there's a human factor to that. It doesn't mean that we have to agree all the time. It doesn't mean that we have to go along with the side that we're on. Sometimes it means that we're human and we have to admit our mistakes, and we have to admit that we were at fault. And we do have to correct it. And we do have to agree that sometimes our way is not the best way. It may be somebody else's way. So we have to think about those things, I think, often. Main message, be human.
Those that watch this later on, or
Yeah. I think the summary would be eat a slice of humble pie.
Yeah. Sometimes it's pretty nasty, but it is what it is.
I've heard that one a million times, but that I think that there's a lot of truth to that, you know. And I think one of the encompassing statements in this book, if there's a big, we're 2/3 the way through this book. One of the biggest encompassing topics that doesn't often get stated in every sentence, but is circling around every single chapter, is the human factor, and it's being human, being real, and that's I think when you look at all the books that we've looked at, there's always kind of an encompassing principle, and that's what this one is be human, and think about it too, in everything that you do, every conversation you have, whether it's salesman to dealer, salesman to contractor, production to sales, vice versa. Be human. I think is the very simplest way of doing it, and oftentimes we forget it. Whether it's you do something for the greater good of the sale, for the greater good of making your day easier, for the greater good of making production easier. You have all these factors that come in, input, and I think that kind of fades away, that human factor, and it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot in a day that comes at you in a day. I mean, you think about, look back in your day and how much crap gets thrown in your face in one day. It's a lot. But don't let it fade your human factor. Don't let it shade you as a person. Through and through, the only thing that you got left in this world is yourself. So you got to be human. You got to be true to yourself.
100%. So next week, or not next week, but
2 weeks. Yeah.
We get back at it again after our little hiatus. Going to move into lead the people, not the numbers.
Yes, this is a great chapter. One of my favorite chapters. It encompasses that human element. I think that there's a little teaser quote. I just flipped on it and I want to share it with you guys because it's a great quote. Customers will never love a company until the employees love it first. So think about that. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Your employees have got to love that you got to have that buy-in first. Otherwise, your customers will never have the buy-in. And that's exactly what we're talking about. When you start treating people like numbers and not people, people will start getting mad. And they'll start losing interest in the company, and your sales will suffer because of it. So, good chapter.
Looking forward to it. So we're not next Monday, but the following Monday, I believe, correct?
Yes, that'll work.
Yeah, yep, I think that's accurate.
Yep.
Perfect. Aaron, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And we obviously wish Chris all the best. And he won't stop talking.
Yeah. No, he's not going away.
A much better football team than he's used to, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got to keep giving him a hard time about that. He told me today that he's not giving up on the Bears, but I think he's got a perfectly good cop out right now. If you wanted to take it.
Every Bears fan says, but they still on the Packers.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll talk to you guys soon.